All right. We're all going through a very palpable energy shift. And, we are on the path of healing. A lot of us went through many things over the past few years. And the energies are kind of rebalancing, okay, who we are. Recently, I did a video on a new timeline and a new identity. So we have had an identity maybe in the past few years, and our identity is now rapidly shifting. So what maybe you brought to the world in the past few years been kind of volatile, the energies. Now these energies are shifting. And in today's lesson, we're going to discuss self-worth, the healing of the inner child, and a collective change that is happening. And to go through it, it is we're all going through it. Today we have to call forward the usage of two Jedi Masters in today's lesson. Without further ado, let us introduce former NCAA Division I athlete, fellow former New York City public school teacher, the Brooklyn Shaman, Adam Gell. Adam Gell.
How are you, Mike?
Good. Oh. We've all been kind of going through a lot of volatile energies and the changes, and I've been going through it. I've been sharing with you my experience going through the changes. Sharing it with the community, and the community has shared with me as well. So kind of to start us off, what have you been feeling in the past couple of weeks?
Well, I'm noticing a lot of people who are shifting. Actually, I've been around a lot of different people who are in a transition of going within and experiencing a level of consciousness. I mean, I think the energies around us have been strong. They've created shifts within us that have forced us to open ourselves up to evolving and changing. And I think one of the things that you mentioned earlier, which is something that was important, is that I think many people are recognizing the validation of our inner child. How that inner child within us has to be validated and recognized in order for us to be whole and complete. Otherwise, we have a void missing within ourselves. Many times what happens is that we forego parts of ourselves that we don't like, the parts of ourselves that we felt were weak and not recognized. And we say, all right, I'm done with that. I'm going to move on from it. But you really can't move on from it without validating it. So as it relates to the inner child, I think the inner child work is a profound thing that many people are going through right now, or recalls of that, the experiences, and it's important for us to bring that back into our lives and to validate it.
Kind of going back to the past, who we are. I always share we are our inner child. I'm actually, and I think we're always more in our pure authenticity when we embrace the inner child. Being from, we kind of like joke around like kids, the two of us, and getting back to really where we were. My path and my story, and I went through a lot in the past few years, and I really had to go into a mode where I just you had to put like all the shields up and just kind of fight every single day. And I kind of feel the shift in me, shifting from, a lot of people might feel this as well, that you don't want to fight anymore and you just want love and you just want peace. So we're kind of shifting out of that phase, shifting from, basically kind of fighting for everything you have. And sometimes as men, if you're a man that's listening to this, you're going to have to fight for your family. You're going to have to fight every single day and be tough. And that's the true divine masculine. And my grandmother told me years ago, there's a time for this and a time for that. Now is a time for love. Now is a time for compassion and a time for healing. And, we're actually, and I've shared, when I went to a new stage of my life, and I grew up in Brooklyn, lived there, and I left, my job, and I came to Florida. It was terrifying for me. Yeah. And, you kind of like shifted out of Brooklyn too. And Or would you like to share about like how it is when you do something your whole life, or you live somewhere your whole life, and what happens to your system when you now live in a new
well,
circumstance?
I think what happens is I think there's an energetic shift and a resonance in the energy of where you live and who the people you surround yourself with. And so when you put yourself in a new place, a new energy, you're obviously, gravitating to something that will shift your body naturally. And so for me, for example, leaving Brooklyn, as and living in an urban area, moving to a more suburban area, it gave me the opportunity to be around nature. And I love nature, and I like being with, I'm in the trees and the animals, and just, experiencing that connection to the earth. And that enhanced my ability to, you're moving from a three-dimensional mindset to a fifth-dimensional mindset. And as you mentioned earlier, working in a city and being in that environment, and then moving away from it, it really assisted me in the path to evolving, I feel. So I think wherever you live will create that shift. I mean, where you are, it's beautiful, and it's definitely enhanced, from in terms of our communication, it's helped enhance your life as well. So I think it's important, the environment, a shift to not be fearful of making changes in your life, that you want to go somewhere else that gives you that calling, that maybe there is a calling with that. Yeah.
And really, getting back to the basics is something that I've shared, and health is wealth. And also, we're live right now, so if you could kindly click the like button, others will get this message. Very grateful for that. Myself being a former science teacher, and you being a former phys ed teacher, and teaching others about health and wellness, and it really needs to become a staple of our lives. As I share, and you're also an example of it. Our health is really a reflection of our inner world, and then how we appear in the world. And when you have ailments, a lot of these ailments come from past traumas and stuff. So would you like to talk about traumas and how it manifests in the body?
Yeah, well, I mean, our physical body is a map of our emotional health. We experience specific ailments, and the more we don't deal with our feelings, we override the feelings within our body. What happens is they manifest in the physical body, and we kind of separate ourselves from our body so that we don't feel it, so that we externalize it and say, this is not part of me, and we don't want to accept the parts. What we're really not accepting are the emotions or the feelings behind things. So the important part is for us to feel what we're feeling, so that it doesn't manifest in the physical body and create a disease. Otherwise, we just keep going through a pattern of looking for different places in our body where we have ailments and saying, I don't know what this is, I don't know what that is, I wonder why this is hurting me, I wonder why that's bothering me. But if we just sit through the storms of our lives and allow the water to flow through us, because water is emotions. And if we build boulders within our body or in the external world, if you put boulders in a river, what happens is the water backs up and becomes stagnant. It doesn't flow. But if we move the boulders, the water flows, and then our emotions flow. The same thing with ourselves. Our ego gets in the way of blocking our emotions, so that we don't feel the pain and say, oh, I'm not hurt, I'm not angry, I'm not wounded. But if we just allow, then we're in touch with ourselves, and then our emotions go through like a wave. If we block the wave, it builds up. If we allow it to flow, we become more in harmony.
Yeah. I wrote down cycle breaker, and breaking the cycles that we're in. And you mentioned the water as well. And these that carry the traumas and stuff. And I always say the waters of the body need to flow. And what we don't want to hold on to things, but allow them to pass through. So like, what are some of your modalities to allow?
Yeah, that's good, because actually I just wanted to touch upon that though. Our Akashic records, our imprint of our life's journey, our soul's journey from the beginning of time to now, is recorded in the waters of our existence. And it's in the ether, but it's in the water itself, and that stores a memory. Just like if you have water in your house, it stores a vibration within it, and it could pick up on it. As the Japanese scientist he showed that when you talk to water before it's about to be frozen, if you talk gently to it, the water will actually become more peaceful. The icicles will form in a peaceful way. But if you scream at it or put loud music on, the icicles form in jagged edges. But in terms of the energy or the modalities that I incorporate to assist others with bringing up these points that I'm discussing, as the Akashic records is looking back into the person's soul's plan, what they had in their past, what they have in their present, and what energies they'll present to the future based upon the present moment. And also working with the inner child. Inner child is important for us to validate the parts of ourselves, again, as I mentioned before, that need to be recognized, that need to be brought back in to make us whole. We don't want to recognize things that are negative within us. We want to run away from them. And the further we run from it, the closer we come to the conflict of needing to go back. So, shamanic work is bringing our souls, like soul retrieval, retrieving parts of ourselves that incorporate. And I do that work in person and via Zoom, helping other people with those modalities. Yeah.
I think, as a whole, we're opening up to this. You mentioned the water, and and I'm trying to be a lighthouse to show other people that we're all going through these things, and these are different modalities where we could move energy, and sometimes it could be in water or the breath. And recently, and I shared with you too. I shared with the community my experience in the sauna, and I was called to for a sustained period of time to really sit in the sauna for a while and really sweat out, get the as much water out. We kind of hold water on ourselves, especially in the midsection for protection. A lot of us were through that phase over the past few years, so to talk about the water and the breath, and you saw the video that I put up going through that, and I want, though, if you never saw that video, you should check it out, because each and every one of us will go through that as we go through these changes. And I know that you're a person, and we've discussed. I'm trying to work on new modalities as well, and this guy could hold his breath for like over 5 minutes, and I kind of struggled with that. So a little bit after I shared the video with everyone, I was sitting in the sauna again, and I just caught myself. I was kind of just like sitting, and it almost like all the breath came out of me, and I felt the warmth of the sauna like really like hit me, and I was just like kind of sitting in the sauna like this, and I realized to myself, I said, I'm not breathing. I'm not, and all of a sudden, like I was actually a person that struggled to say hold breath for a very long time, and to have that experience, and it just kind of dawned on me. Like I said, I'm not breathing. So and it's interesting to see how the body changes. So would you like to talk about the breath for a little bit?
I think our breathing is an indicator of holding on. Our ability to let go and to hold on, right? There's an in, there's a pause, and there's an exhalation. And sometimes we're in a state of solitude, but we're also in a state of like not being able to release things, and we hold on to things like asthma conditions, our throat. And the breath itself, like doing specific breathing itself, will increase our ability to take in and to release. So we're breathing in oxygen, we're exhaling carbon dioxide, and that constant cycle of expansion. So for myself, I like to incorporate like the Wim Hof breath. And that breath itself has taught me to be able to endure, to hold on, and to also to let go. And again, breathing in, inhalation, exhalation. And the feeling of expansion, seeing that you could go beyond your place of comfort to an area of discomfort, gives you the opportunity in a spiritual sense to do that as well. It gives you the opportunity to know that you could endure and go beyond certain stresses in life, and you could hold on, you could take in, and you could release. Not holding our breath only, because holding your breath is holding on to something. You're also releasing and letting go. And so I think that exchange of in and out is the perfect flow that we need to incorporate or have in our lives in order for us to grow and be healthy.
And you know, I have seen the change in you over the years. You've seen the change in me, and there really is something like there is a spiritual strength. And you know, I could see it in him. You could try to like move him, you can't move this guy. He's very strong. There's an inner strength that comes, you know, from all of these changes. And I've shared, and I will continue to share. If you're new, please click the subscribe button if you want to improve your health, your wellness. But you used to deal with Lyme, and you it's gone now. So would you like to talk about that?
Yeah, I think, well, in terms of people understanding a spiritual path and going through spiritual changes or physiological changes that open you up to the spiritual world. So for me, I think it was a calling for me to evolve. And in other words, in our lives, if we're on a path, but sometimes we're on the wrong path, or we're not awoken to where we're supposed to be. And somehow I think sometimes diseases reroute us towards our calling. For me, I felt Lyme disease was that. It was a difficult path. It created a lot of stress on my neurological system. But through visiting healers and also doing some of the things that Michael's speaking about, the breathing exercises, the connection to spirit, and moving myself away from a three-dimensional mindset to a higher level of consciousness in changing environments, going through the different stresses, being tested, all of these different things were a way of pushing me towards where I needed to go. So I think having a connection and recognizing why I was guided to this physical ailment helped me grow. And in that process, I think we go through these experiences. We're going to have physical setbacks, diseases that are sometimes wake-up calls for the body, that we're on the wrong path and that we're not listening to our body. And by not listening to our body, we're not listening to the inner child, and we're not allowing the breath, we're not allowing the in and the out. And we're just sitting in a state of flux rather than a state of movement. And sometimes it's necessary to sit in that state of solitude and flux, but we need to be able to recognize that and then proceed and use the negative and turn it into a positive. And I think a disease is a negative, but it's an awakening if we take it in the right way and not be a victim of any circumstance.
You know, stress is the number one cause of disease. And, you know, I went through my own stresses and went through a healing crisis. And what that did was it forced me to learn the new modalities. And I operate more efficiently, as one of the things I've been sharing with the community, and you know as well. I function and I'm stronger and I perform better, maybe only eating 2 meals a day when I used to eat 6 meals a day. So it's a total change. And I do feel that the healing crises, so you might be tuned into this and you might go through a period of time where you deal with a lot of stress. It might cause you to be in a healing crisis. And but what it forced me to do was to study more. And if we don't have that kick in the backside, if you will, maybe we will never. So sometimes the healing crisis is actually a blessing in disguise. I talk about the quantum event, and sometimes events we don't know if they're good or bad at first, but it kind of puts us on a new trajectory. I know you know a little bit about that too.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of shifting ourselves from different levels of going from one place to the next in our lives. I just, for example, you yourself, as an example, seeing you make the changes and the shifts of what you've done, as you mentioned, it's like a different person. We come out, and it's almost, we come out of a shell, like, and we're reborn. It's like flipping the skin on something and thinking it's not there, but then we open it up and we go through it. There was a point that I wanted to touch upon that you said that I lost track of. But getting back to the evolving of ourselves, not everything has to be done the same way for each person. Sometimes in life we wind up thinking that because everybody does it this way, we have to do it the same way, as a reference to bodybuilding or a reference to diet or a reference to a specific exercise. We're individuals, and each one of us has a specific calling and a path And we have to find that way of trying to put that into our lives, incorporate in our lives, that works for us, not doesn't work for the next person or the person next to them. And sometimes there's pressure or peer pressure, thinking that we have to, as Michael said, eat 6 meals a day as a bodybuilder, because if you don't, your body's not going to grow. But he's an example, because he tells me he eats 2 meals a day, and I see his body and he's in great shape. So when you have somebody whose mindset like myself is, I'm like saying, no, I can't be. How could you only eat 2 meals? And I'm scared to let go of a thought pattern, because I'm afraid of releasing that thought pattern. I won't maintain my physical strength. So even though we're evolving, we have to be patient with ourselves to recognize that we're not perfect, that we have flaws, and that we can always learn from somebody, and that we could always shift and change into something else by finding and discovering our own way of doing it. And as you mentioned before, I think conflict, I think disease are ways that's a little bit far gone. Sometimes we can be alerted to things prior to being in a diseased state, but it's important for us to recognize our feelings so that we know where we're at, and not just put it into our body or dissociate from our feelings. Sitting through the pain, sitting through the anxiety, sitting through that wave, and then it passes. And then we say, oh, I got through it. At least I went through it. If we don't go through it, how are we going to endure it if we never went through it?
Yeah.
So it's important to ride the wave and to expand yourself and trust yourself, trust the process.
Yeah, and I think using the term quantum, different modalities, understanding these terms. First of all, you need wisdom in life. You and I have wisdom, okay? Especially growing up in Brooklyn, and seeing all different types of people and having different types of stories and playing in the park. And a lot of people don't have that in the world, to be exposed to so many different backgrounds, hear so many different stories. And one of the things that I deal with a lot of flack about this. This. We're not all the same. Some people they get into maybe a spiritual awakening, or they take the ascension journey, and they see certain people out on the internet, and they say, my way is the only way. This is the way that you do it. And what I set forth to show people is that they have to know thyself. So when I step out, I'll give you an example, all right, now. And if this we have new people showing up, please click the like button if you just came on. If you resonate with being your individual self, then this is the message and how you are to live your life. Okay, I am Mr. Hot. This is an example of Mr. Cold. Okay, I love the heat. I could sit in the sauna. I could sit in extreme heat. That is my modality. You sit in the cold. I don't like the cold. I don't like the cold. All right, you might not like that. For me, on my journey, I like to sun gaze. I look right into the sun. You don't like to do that. So what we're here to show you, you could see 2 Jedi Masters. If you didn't know, he is Professor X and I'm Wolverine.
That's good. That's good. I'm sitting on an ice block.
But the point of the matter is that we can achieve a higher state of consciousness by utilizing different modalities. We are all different types of superheroes, okay? And that's where we're headed in the future, is becoming or embracing that inner superhero that we have inside of us, all right? So like sometimes I might experiment a little bit with the breathing. That's not my staple. Maybe you don't do the sun gazing all the time, all right? But you might try it once in a while. So the moral of the story is you are going to have to do what resonates for you, okay? There is no coach. There is no, you work with people too, and you kind of guide them to, you've mentored me years ago too, and you've always guided me to find my own path. And if you're on this channel right now and you're getting this message, you got to get this in the brain, okay? You have to get it in the brain right now. You have to find your own path. Why doesn't everyone write that in the comments today? I walk my own path. And you got to know thyself, okay? You know, it's not just a biblical term. Would you like to elaborate on know thyself a little bit for people? Because a lot of people, I think they see what's on the TV and they just go.
Well, I guess knowing thyself is being honest with oneself, to actually look yourself in the mirror and to see beyond the material aspects of yourself. Because we all grow up in environments or in life where we want to sometimes we want to look our best, we want to be muscular, we want to be strong, but there's also a time for weakness, and those times of weakness are the teaching moments for ourselves to really show us what's inside of ourselves, not on the outside. And I think knowing thyself is incorporating many different things, and one of them, again, as we mentioned before, was knowing the child, knowing the stages of your life, and not dismissing any parts of yourself that are communicating with you or that need validation. As some people may say, how do I recognize that inner child within me? It's a difficult part to go back in. Well, it takes courage to be able to sit, because sometimes that inner child gives you the wisdom that you need as an adult to help you move forward. And again, also in terms of knowing thyself is actually being open to learning from other people, to being able to see the differences that other people have and realize that you may know something, but somebody may know something more. And it's good to learn from them. And it's a stepping stone to help each other grow. So I think that's knowing thyself, knowing other people who can help us, and knowing ourselves how we can find our path, as you mentioned before, but being open to a pathway, not saying this is the pathway that I was indoctrinated into. This is the path that I was taught to be by parents, society, but to say, you know what, I think I have to veer a little bit off this path and find my own way of doing it. And then I'll know myself, because I'll walk a state of solitude, and I'll walk in a state of company of other people, and then maybe hopefully bring other people on the path so that they can find their own way.
Um, Love is so important. I think it's something that's been missing from the world. And I've been talking about the term of self-sabotage, and some people, either shy away from love, or they don't listen to their body, and they listen to, oh, I'm supposed to do it this way. And that's why a lot of people are out of balance. We've all dealt with things where you want someone in your life that actually enhances your frequency, and like the interactions that we have. So you want to talk a little bit about love and the healing aspect
Well, I
of
mean,
love?
nobody's a perfect example of love. I think love is the process of first loving yourself. Once you can love yourself, or at least be comfortable with yourself, then you can find a resonance or a reflection outside of yourself that mirrors that part of you. So it's like the seed that breaks through the dirt. It's dirty, it's messy, and it's the same process for us. We're breaking through our own ground in order to blossom, to find ourselves. But in the process of breaking the seed open, we meet people in our lives that mirror that dirt and the dirt that we feel. And then we resonate with people who come into our lives that will resonate where we're at in our journey. And that the self-love is the most difficult part. They say, like, the brain to the heart is the shortest distance, but it's the hardest part of actually figuring things out, because we think, but we have a hard time feeling. And once we're able to feel the love for ourselves, at least the acceptance of self-acceptance, then we have the opportunity to turn that self-acceptance into the path of love. And that means you'll love nature, you'll love animals, you'll love people, and then you'll attract that back to you, because that energy is powerful, that heart energy.
And you just talked about something that I mentioned the other day, the rebalancing, or the heart to mind balance or connection, and going through that. And a phrase that you shared with me a long time ago is having your head in the clouds, but still having your feet on the ground. And that's a motto that I'm really showing the world. That you, like, some people, they might go into spirituality. Do we hear us better? Okay. Just hit 555. We're live. We're having mic difficulties, but hopefully, okay, we got it. Especially for men, if you don't have feelings, that's not a good thing. So you want to have feelings. If you touch a hot stove, the feelings of pain, it tells you to remove your hand. Otherwise, you have your hand on the hot stove, and then you'll make more of a damage. So you really want to have feelings, even if it's pain, love, all of these things. Many, both men and women, they're numb to this. So would you like to talk about how to get into feelings?
Well, yeah, I was going to say that most people, when they're on a spiritual path, they want to really run away from themselves, and by running away from themselves, they go into the higher consciousness, but they lose their grounding. When you lose your grounding, you lose your footing. And we came here to reincarnate on this earth as a human being and have a human experience. But that doesn't mean we can't have that human experience and go into a higher level and gain the wisdom. And gaining the wisdom is actually, as Michael was mentioning, in terms of the masculinity and femininity, is it's a balance between the masculine and the feminine. The earth is the feminine, and the above is the masculine. And so when you're balancing those two energies, you're finding an equilibrium between who you are. And when you're able to balance that out, then you'll be able to connect to your heart as a center point. Because most men, and I can experience from my own experience, and I know, you wind up finding yourself in an egotistical state, a state of protection, a state of armored. And we armor ourselves because of the vulnerabilities we can feel within ourselves. And that doesn't mean you become completely feminine because you soften up. No, you gain wisdom actually in the experience, and that wisdom tied in with your masculinity, strength is a powerhouse. And for anybody else who's going on a spiritual journey and thinks that they're high and mighty without having a foundation, then it crumbles underneath them. So you have to have the balance of the foundation as well as building floor on top of floor to reach a gradual progression of wisdom. That's what we're here for. Yeah. To open our hearts and to gain wisdom to help others.
You know, even in the past week, in this intense energy, I cried a little bit. I said, okay, that's enough of that. But even myself, that's what I did. I tried to cry. No, but sometimes you have to cry it out a little bit, and get in touch with it. And I think that sometimes the pain guides us. Pain guides us to love. Because if it didn't hurt you, it doesn't matter. I've been sharing about passion. I have passion for my work, especially being a man in this world. A lot of divine masculine, they want to love very strongly. It's very difficult to achieve that love in the modern world with the way it is. So I feel that the more that people embrace the pain, you could write that down as well, embrace the pain. The more that we embrace the pain, as I shared before, the obstacle is the way. So on my journey, and you know all about my journey, everything that was like that, I went right after it, and I went right after it. So sometimes I feel, especially if you are a warrior, okay, you want to embrace that pain and go right after that obstacle. Go right towards it. Don't run. I go right towards it. So you know that, and it actually makes us feel alive. It makes us feel alive to go through this. So before we get off, any closing things you'd like to share, advice to the people?
Yeah, I would say that it's important for us to be able to sit with ourselves, just to sit in our company and to find that in a solitude, without distractions, because we have so many distractions. We have addictions. We have moments where we look to other people to fill that empty void within us of just communicating with them, either by talking to them or calling them up or whatever it may be. Sometimes it's important for us to sit in the solitude of ourselves and just to feel what it feels like to be alone and not be afraid of it. And it may retrace a part of ourselves where we did feel alone from the past. And that's the past. The present gives us the opportunity of sitting solitude as an adult to now know that we can now grow from it and attract other people in our lives. So
yeah, that's really where I grew the most. I share about the wilderness season and spending time alone. And I feel like, everyone's season, I always share, know your season. My season is changing, and we feel this in the body, the nervous system. That's why I'm going through personally a lot of these shifts, because as the energy or our energetic body changes, then our reality changes. So, and it is overwhelming to go through this. So, how could people find you? Do you still have the longest YouTube channel name in the history?
I think I shortened it up a little bit, but I'll give it. It's Conversations with Adam Gell and Inspiring Minds. So Adam Gell and Inspiring Minds.
And your website for people to find you?
My website is AdamGellUniversalHealing.com. I do different modalities, Akashic record readings and shamanic work and distance healing. And as Michael said, helping people evolve.
So I'll place both of those in the description. I'm grateful for all of you. And if you happen to came across today's video, I'm Michael, and these are our everyday lives. If you would like to grow physically, mentally, and spiritually, if you want to become empowered, if you want to take ownership of your life, if by the end of the year you want to have a totally different reality, would you kindly click the subscribe button and take the journey and show up every day and see how your frequency changes and be ready to embrace a higher version of yourself. Let's get back into balance. Let's get back into alignment. Let's become the greatest version of ourselves. So I love each and every one of you. I love you. Thank you for being on. My good friend here, my good friend. So I love you all. Leave comments. Are you going through this energy right now? How are you managing the energy? Remember that we are a community and people read the comments. So share your stories. And we have Facebook, TikTok, and Patreon. All those links are in the description. And check out the channel page. Check out the playlists that we have waiting for you. And I have a daily video, 9 a.m. Eastern time. Let's become empowered today. So I love you all. Embrace the change. Embrace your new reality. I love you all. All right. See you soon.